Tattoo for You, Richard here, and it's time once again for a tips, tricks, and whoopsies video. Woo, that thing's been gone for a really long time, Richard. Why'd you bring it back? Because I felt like it. I was messing around yesterday and found I had this hidden behind my couch. You know, most of us war gamers and nerd folk, even kids, I'm still a kid, I ain't gonna lie. But we see this stuff, we pop open a box, get a new DVD player or VCR. You know, VCRs, those old things you put tapes in. What's a tape? That's the stuff that you wrap around presents, right? To keep the package shut. And you stick stuff on your wall. That's tape, right? Kids, back in the day, there was big plastic boxes that were like that thick and like that. And you put them in a TV and you watch movies. Yeah, it's crazy. They even had smaller ones that were this big and like that thin. You put them in a machine and you listen to music. Music just doesn't come out of the air like it does nowadays. It used to come from something. And at one point in time, they even had things that looked like tiny little records. Oh, I just blew your mind. That records is a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that some other time, kiddos. But anyway, you get the styrofoam out of the boxing and you're like, your wife's like, it's trash. Throw that trash away there, boy. I'm like, woman, this is the base. My soldiers need a place to live. And she's like, it's trash. I'm like, I'll throw it in the trash. So I throw it behind the couch so you can't see it. And then I pull it out later and it's the building. So we're going to go table down. And that intro was insane. I'm sorry. I'm going to be making scatter terrain. I'm just going to do one on camera. I'm going to be making a bunch more later because ultimately the first narrative campaign we have is going to be a decent battle between me and my daughter, her Tyranids versus my Tau, and on kind of their home world, more or less. It's got the story going to go why my Tau have been asked by Commander Farsight to leave. We'll get into that full storyline later, the reasoning, but why my Tau set up a big colonization fleet, and them and a couple hundred ships leave to go colonize a new planet somewhere far away. And they're expected it to take years, but it doesn't for a reason. We'll talk about that later. Again, I need to stay out of the narrative right now. We're working on scatter terrain. But the first battle is going to be on a board, and I'd like it to be a big snowy board. I wish I could get one of those frontline fat mats. If someone has one laying around that they just don't want anymore. But the snow one that has that's just looks like snow and ground. There's no buildings look like buildings on it at all. I believe it's Frontline is the one that I saw that has that, and that's the others tend to have like little, looks like a ruined building in the snow, but Frontline has the one that's just snow, rocks, and dirt. I like that. That's the mat that I want. But I want to do that. I want to make several pieces of terrain for it. I've even got a big board, a good size board that I'm going to do a big centerpiece building on or something snow related and on there. Probably a large building where I use a good chunk of this and some other things. But yeah, so I started out with these. Now, no, I didn't make these. They'll be like, oh, Rich, that's Games Workshop. You're lying. I'm not lying. I started with these. I have these old Games Workshop terrain, hard foam terrain pieces they put out back in the day. And I had taken one and I put snow effects on it. Like the snow stuff I did, I just like, hey, I wonder how stuff... I mixed up a batch of it, hadn't used it before. And I was like, man, I wonder how good this stuff works. And then so I plopped it on and let it sit and dry, and it did a pretty good snow effect on it. I was like, oh, cool. Well, I have several pieces, so I'm going to do it to all of them. I'm going to give them a repaint, too, since everything is one flat tone and stuff like that. Like, I want to change at least the tone of the dirt, give it more browns, and highlight it up a little bit. Maybe not so much on the building tones, since all these will be one section, like one building, maybe, of the terrain piece. So, yeah, I have a bunch of these that I'm going to put snow on, but I want to make more. And that's where the styrofoam comes in. You got chunks of styrofoam that you can throw down as more scattered terrain and more ruined building pieces and such. So that's what I'm pretty much going to do today. I'm going to make one small piece, on camera, kind of show you the main part is how to battle damage and weather your styrofoam. I do like 2 different methods for me. There's more, you know, but the 2 main ones that I'm using on this one, I'm going to show you on camera. I might even paint it up on camera. We'll see. Sorry, this is coat hanger again. Trying to cut that bad boy. In the meantime, let's go table down before I ramble on other stupid things and start making some terrain for your mama, but not really for me. It's for me. Let's do this, guys. All right, guys, here we are. It's my little tabletop area I'm working on right now. Actually, like reaching way around this camera, so it's gonna be kind of awkward for a little bit. But let's kind of show you what I'm starting out with. So what this was my daughter had an old jewelry box. It was all busted up and stuff. And so this was actually one of the interior little small drawers that stuck up. I look for anywhere that I can get hardwood from. Like this, it's pretty much MDF board. And I just confiscate it, save it, and then trim it down as I need it. I usually trim it down with a box knife, but like a little better one than this. But you can use this too. It just takes a little bit more time. You just need to be a little bit more careful with it. So yeah, other good thing to use too, when I've used before, I think I even used it on, yeah, I did. I used it on my terrain piece for Nick's Ittig Beer's terrain circle or terrain square challenge that he does every year. But you buy those little pop posters that, like I had a poster, it was a giant panda poster, you know, and then it comes with that little thin sheet of plastic on top and those little plastic side border frames, but then the back is like this, usually this really thin pressed woodish material, and it's rough on one side but smooth on the other where the poster sits. That thing was falling apart. The poster had come out of it, and long time I'd used it for my I had cut it in half, and I used half of it for my nerd board that I would do my other videos on, that I had nerd written across real big. So anyway, once I got a new board and came into the new area, I decided to start using that as terrain pieces, and I've done several little scatter terrains on it before. So anything that's a good hardboard, I'll confiscate it. You know, you find it in the trash or something like that. You know, you get going and throwing out an old dresser that's all busted up. You can kind of look. Sometimes that bottom of the drawers or something is a really thin material like this that's a good sturdy wood that you could probably confiscate and use. Later on, I'll go over other types of basing and what you can use as basing material, because I have a few ideas. I just don't have the materials for it. The story of my life. I don't have what I need. But we're just going to make do with what we do have. Again, it's the packaging, foam packaging you get from stuff. This is the main piece we're going to work with here. I goofed off and kind of spray painted it the other day. Or airbrushed it, I mean. But yeah, so this is going to go on here as just a little chunk of sight blocking terrain. And what we're going to do is we're going to weather this down. Because, I mean, this is too pretty, right? That's too much of a rectangle. So there's a couple ways I do it. So what we have over here is a bigger chunk. And I've already done some weathering on it. If you look, I put bullet holes in it. Got big old chunks knocked out of it. Little weird melt-a-blast maybe. Another bullet hole pattern. Another burn melt-a-look. You know, maybe like acid or some kind of whatnot hit it and melted it down just a little bit. And then the edges. Doesn't have that little bubbly material like this. That is the first and easiest thing to do. That's what I'm going to show you. That is the easiest thing to get rid of. Now, I recommend doing this with a mask or something like that, because anytime you're messing with styrofoam, this stuff is a toxic material. You burn it, you melt it. It can make you sick by the fumes it puts off. Typically, everything we use, the glue and stuff we do too, but this is for science. No. Anyway, yeah, so do something like keep a little face mask around or something, or open a window and there's a fan blowing. Just make sure you get all the toxic fumes out. But I use a lighter first, okay? And all these little breaks and all this rough stuff, to me, that's too much. It's good textures, yes, but all these little round, bubbly look to it, that's just a bit much for me and what I want. So I'll just come back with a lighter
and I'll just barely go over it. And you see what it did there? It just kind of flattens it and smooths it out a little bit. Gives it, it's still got the good texture. It's got a nice, it's almost got even better texture because it's more angular and nice for edges for a dry brush to catch on and kind of give you some good details. So yeah, just go over little spots with it. I can go over this whole edge here. Just go all the way down and do the same thing with all that. If any spots you notice still kind of feel rounded off, you can hit them. Little thin edges like that, don't really want those, so smooth those off. And don't do it for a long time. One thing, you'll catch the foam on fire, but then you'll release more of that lame toxic gas. And this video ain't about messing your head up. It's about, oops, see, look at that. So more likely that would be a piece I'd put on the ground like that anyway. Do some kind of heavy texturing over this, or even just get rid of that. For the Melt-A-Blast, the little flame burn things I did, again with the lighter, I just kind of hit it like this. And it kind of gives you that little crater in there. You don't even have to get too close to it. You just barely get at it, and you got a little one with this corner here, and it's done. That's an easy way to give it more texture, more effect, you know, burn look. I don't like this stuff here. Let's get rid of that. Oh, I wonder what that says. It's another language. Always there's the typical using a knife and cutting chunks out of it. Make sure you got a good sharp knife. You know, then you get some good chunks knocked out of the styrofoam. Looks like broken rock. Maybe carry that on as a crack. It's a little bit more time consuming, but you hit it once and then come back just beside it. And you hit it again. You can even heat up your blade. I don't want to do it to this one because this is my good blade. But if you heat it up, my good blade, it barely cuts. I need to break a tip off. If you heat it up, it's going to act like a hot wire, and it'll come in there. And you can get that to open up a little bit more if you need it. But I do a couple little cracks off there, you know, make it look like a cracked rock. A cracked rock. You want a cracked rock? No. So, see, and that looks like a good, nice crack on there. I will go ahead and later on paint this piece, but I am going to break this off right now. So there, you got a nice little pillar. I don't like this area up here either, so I'll probably do something with that, like this. Yeah. It looks like a big old blast took it out. Now I'll do something with this edge here. Alright, so next step is I got these guys, coat hanger wire, to put in here as like rebar. You can put it wherever you think, you know, they may have put reinforcement bars in there. Yes, because I'm pretty sure that's what rebar stands for. You can stick it in, but I would add some PVA glue or something in there too, something that can dry and help hold it in there better. I have a hot glue gun over here too, and I would suggest if you can find it. No, most of us probably already have a hot glue gun, but if you can find a dual temperature hot glue gun, these are awesome. So you're working on stuff with like styrofoam and whatnot. You've got this number 2, so that's the cooler temperature. It's obviously it's still hot because it's a hot glue gun, but it's a little less heat, and your drying time is quick, but it's also not so hot you're just going to melt the crap out of the styrofoam when you do it. So here, I put the hot glue on there, and then I will shove it in. And then that's going to dry in there and cool down, and then I got a nice little piece of rebar that sticks out. I'll probably do one more up top here. Oh crud, I should have cut this off camera earlier because gosh darn it, it's a pain in the butt. But then you just pick your piece and I snap it. Oh, hello, it flew way the crap over there. So yeah, well, okay. Whoopsie, number 1. I'll use that little piece, a little crooked one, but it's alright. I put it in an angle. I go ahead and I poke the hole first. So I have a good guide and I can put it in fast enough, you know, so the hot glue doesn't goop up and start cooling while you're trying to shove it through. And then do like I just did. I put a little glob of hot glue on the end. And then I feed it through the hole. Try to get it in there, not so much on the outside, but again, if it's on the outside, once it dries, you can just come back and use a X-Acto knife and trim it off. You can even do like this is doing, since it's still a little cool, is kind of shove more of it down in that hole. So yeah, and then you have these two in there, and they're stuck in there pretty good. You know, I mean, it's hot glue, so it's not gonna save your life if you're falling off a cliff and you're like, I'm gonna reach up and grab onto this. Oh, you know, enough pressure, I'm gonna pop that right out. But it's in there for gaming purposes. The other thing too is this edge is metal, it's sharp, so it's probably gonna poke you and it's gonna hurt if you're not careful, guys, and dolls, and people, and everyone. Oh, hot glue strings everywhere. That's what the city looks like after Spider-Man goes through. So, we are now going to go on to this piece. Now, this piece here, oh, it's way over there. Give me 1 second. I'll pause. Here we are, back at this piece again. First thing I'm going to do with it, I'm going to hit it with the lighter to get those edges messed up like I like them. I'm going to throw the lighter first. It's hot in here. I don't want to turn the fan off. Okay, hit that edge up. Hit all that up in there. Ooh, it's pretty. There we go. And just kind of, like I said, give it a look over, make sure it's how you like it. If it is not hit, you can hit it again. You can technically hit this thing till it melts if you were so inclined. I don't recommend it, but unless you're outside playing. Then just know the number to the local fire department or 911. What's the number to 911? Oh, you're so silly. So, okay. So again, that's just showing you the melted parts. Now, I'm going to break a chunk off. Melt that up again. And then this piece here is kind of hard because it's tiny. It's getting in my fingers and it'll burn my fingers up. There. So, broke a piece off for reasons. Another use for the rebar. You take the rebar, poke a hole, however deep you want it, and then your other piece that you just broke off, pick out which direction you want this to go. I'm thinking kind of, it doesn't really matter once you break it off, to be perfectly honest, because then it's, yeah, so then you have something like that. So it's like kind of a broke off piece, and it's still hanging by the rebar. Okay? So it's cool, just a little detail, cool little neat little detail. So I'll pause, I'm going to get that glued on, and we'll go to the next step. That's all glued on and good to go. Now we're going to work on the bullet hole. Oh, well here, I want to add a couple little chunks cut out of this guy. For reasons. There. So we got the slices and dices and corners chipped off. The other thing you can do too is just pick the foam, like break off little chunks. You know, pick things out. You got little holes in there. That's not how I did the bullet holes though. That's what I'm about to do next, is show you bullet holes. You wouldn't be a lot of bullet holes over the top, so I'm not going to do that area. But for this, you're going to need a bottle of super glue and a fine point. Now, what you're going to do is, I'm going to get that glue down in the tube. You can watch it come in there. Once it gets to the end, I just start doing dabs. Now, the bigger the dab, the bigger the hole you're going to have, okay? Because super glue eats styrofoam. You want small ones, get a finer area, and just do some smaller little dots. Having a hard time controlling it because of where I'm at behind this camera. So let's go boop, 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 boop. So we can get that cool little spray pattern. We'll come back on it. You'll be able to see it a lot better once we spray this too. So I'm going to go ahead and spray it. And then up here you can do, say, a little melted spot. Just another to give it some little texture. Come over here to the edges and do something along there too. You can go into these cracks you just made and add some in there. You want something that looks like really blasted out, put a big glob of super glue. That will probably almost melt all the way through. So you can kind of see already the first one we did. See how they're starting to melt? I'm sticking my fingers to them. Kind of fills out, and that's the side. Look at that, it's already melted in there. So it's just like a nice little burst pattern, like put one up here. Get it just right, I'll melt it into the rebar, and that'd be kind of cool. So yeah, so that's something you could do. Bullet holes and stuff like that and things. We're going to go ahead and stop here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue this to the base with the other one. And then I'm going to add some details on the basing. Guys, so here we are. This is my scatter terrain. Just got to use a little piece over there. That one I made with the rebar. And you've got yourself a nice little... I don't have any troops over here, do I? Yes, I do. I have Necrons. Unpainted Necrons. So boom, that Necron's hiding out back behind there. See, it's the good line of sight blocking piece of terrain. See him a little bit. Back behind this piece here is on the ground. So yeah. So it turned out pretty cool. I likes it a lot. See how the blast turned out? You kind of look in there, see some of that shine. That means it's still wet, so it's still probably working a little bit. See that big old scoop out of there? A little small one. That's that flick I did earlier. Up here didn't work out so good because I forgot the spray. So where there wasn't enough spray on there, it kind of sunk in a little bit, but the rest it just kind of crusted over on the top. Right there. Excuse me. No chunk. Where else we got? Over here on the side, all those bullet holes, those are all done because they're dried. Same on this one here. So yeah, I probably should have put some back in here too, but I didn't. My next step on this is going to be, I have to use Mod Podge because I left my Elmer's glue, my PVA glue out in the other room. But Mod Podge is, I mean, it's pretty much daggum Elmer's glue. So I'm going to add some basing to this. I'm going to do all this off camera just so you can see. I'll kind of tell you what I did. I am going to be mixing in little bits of this. I'm going to break little chunks off of this, little small chunks like this, to add in there to look like pieces of it that have fallen. They'll kind of fill in areas back here. So it'll be something like that, and then I'll have grit and stuff around it. So this isn't something that people are going to be able to, like, models are going to be able to come up on necessarily, but it's just going to be a piece that's going to look cool out in the middle of your battlefield. So I'm going to do that, and we'll come back and kind of show you the pretty much finished project before I paint it. Alright guys, time to unveil the finished... Oh, don't do that. I almost spilled my super glue everywhere. What's it stupid? Figured I didn't put lid on a super glue bottle, huh? You big turd. Thank you. So here we go. Here it is. So what I did is I have this stuff here. This is tea. I got this from the dollar store, and I was like, hey, tea would make a good ground cover. Just a kind of quick ground cover, and it did. You can kind of see that a little bit. We got the tea bits all over there. This stuff right here is not really on there. I'll dust that off later. When I airbrush it to kind of prime it, it'll probably blow half that stuff off there. Put the glue down, sprinkle that all over, and then I came back with this. I have some train ballast I got a while back. I like using for little rocks and rubble. Well, it works perfect for little tiny chunks of this rock that kind of broke off. I just kind of put it around different spots and glued it down to kind of make it look like pieces. It's still wet, that's why I'm kind of trying not to touch any of it yet. And I really like to go over it one more time with my sealing method, you know, where I do the alcohol and then I come back with the glue and let the glue soak all the way through and seal everything good, because I'm worried that things are going to fall off. When I use that method, everything is like on there good. It's a nice good seal. So I got some back here too, tons of that more ballast back in the back where all these broken bits have fell off and kind of got crushed over time. Yeah, so I'm gonna let this dry really good. Trying to debate. I'm gonna let it dry. I'm gonna wait for a little bit and see if it feels like it's gonna take me too long. I'll come back on and we'll just do our sign off there. But yeah, we'll come back here in a little bit. Maybe this will be primed by then. We'll see. All right, guys, here we go. We are finished. Well, kind of finished. I'm gonna chalk it up as finished right now. Like I'm probably gonna add some greenery, or actually some dried greenery, if it look like dead grass, since it's gonna have snow on it later. But overall, the piece is done. So here you have your concrete, or your, we'll call it styrocrete that they use in the future. I did not, I'm just kidding, I'm not totally done either because I need to do the rebar. I want to get in there with silver on all the rebar pieces. But I don't have that in this room right now. It's in the other room where I was working on my Necrons, which I did paint all my Necrons black, by the way. So they are good to go, and I can get back on that project. As you can see, my fingers are all painted up. Yeah, so here it is. We'll just kind of spin it around. Just blacked everything out. Primed it, blacked it out, and then I came in with chocolate brown, dry brushed over the black, and then nutmeg brown, dry brushed over the black, and then that country tan that I use on everything to dry brush over the black again for the ground. I knocked up a couple of pieces of grit here that weren't fully sealed since I didn't give it a day to dry good. But it is what it is. On this, I did a stone gray, a shadowed stone gray, and then a stone gray. And then I came in and mixed a little white in with the stone gray and did these little highlights and these stipples. And when I did these highlights and stuff, I came back after I did them and I hit them with my thumb. Same for the stipples to kind of get them smudged out and blended better. Because I just stippled it with my dry brush. I went heavy on the edges too to make sure they kind of got a nice highlight on them. The other thing you can do, like if you're doing this, like see mine is, since it's a darker stone, I wouldn't do it because it'd be harder to see. But let's say you did a lighter gray, like more on this level gray. You can come in with your, are there any bullet holes here? You can see there's a bullet hole in there. What I would do is I would take a black and a fine brush and hit the inside of that with a little bit of black. And then kind of barely just whip out a little bit of a highlight on the outside of a white. But then I would also dry whip, like super dry, small faint brush, and brush a little bit of just a few lines coming off the edge, like when the bullet hit, it's so hot that kind of powder burned out a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Other thing to do is just kind of look online and go look at different like bullet holes like in walls and stuff and see what they look like. I would just do that to kind of accentuate the hole a little bit more on a lighter surface, because you can't really get a lot of do the dark on the darkness of mine. But I'm happy with this. Turned out pretty good. I'm stoked. Trying to keep it bright enough so you can see it. So just imagine this later on with what I'm going to do is I'll go metal silver over these and then wash those with like a red wash to kind of give them a rusted look. And then I may wash over the whole thing with like a brown to kind of mute it down just a little bit. Give it a grimier look. Let's see if I can. There we go. And then yeah, and then I would add snow. The snow would end up being mainly on top edges here, in the little nooks and crannies there, a little bit up here and on the nooks here, and then of course, you know, along the edges and stuff, just to give it that little effect. You know, it looks like it got snowed on. So yeah, I'm probably gonna make a bunch more of these later. I did not spray underneath very good. Grr. Yeah, so there you go. That is it. That's a piece of my scatter terrain and how I battle damage some styrocrete using a lighter, super glue, and knives. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gave you some inspiration to do your own, man. And again, like I said, I never do this as like, hey, this is how you're supposed to do it. This is just how I do it, just for fun and shiggles. So give it a try, have some fun, try a new way. If you find it something different, you're like, hey, I like to do this. This looks pretty cool. This gives me a nice technique, nice depth to the thingy-o. Do it. If you're on YouTube, make a video of it. Show us all. Let's see what's going on, man. Let's see what you got going. I love you guys. Y'all are awesome. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day and a wonderful rest of the week. I will be at you tomorrow with an update on my Necrons. Yeah, and I think that's it. Guys, have a wonderful, lovely nerd life. I'll see you later.